In life and your existence on this planet, you're always going to have a very embarrassing moment in your life. For me, some of my embarrassing moments are this. One time I took a shit in public and it went all over my dad. But luckily for me back then, I was only a baby. It was only until my parents had to remind me of that moment that happened to my dad. Embarrassing moment. Another embarrassing moment was also watching Chelsea play yesterday. Just another terrible performance and really nothing to really show from it apart from my sheer embarrassment of watching that display of football on the TV. But also at times you would also have your friendship groups and they will always speak about their moments, whether it's good or bad or embarrassing. And some of the embarrassing things that I hear is a failure on a first date. You know, you always have a conversation and it all flows well, but then something slips out of your tongue and then all of a sudden the date goes wrong and then you go empty-handed, knowing that you screwed up on your first date. Luckily for me, I've never had a date. I'm pretty much a person with social anxiety and social phobia. I don't really get into these sort of scenes like that. So, luckily for me, I don't have any moment like that. But I hear a lot from friends that has happened to them. The point is, maybe getting a little bit distracted. Any moment in your life that you're going to have is always going to be embarrassing. And even if you try and hide it or be open about it, it will pretty much still be something that will live in the memories for a lot of people to think about. But today I've got something that's going to change all that. Because I went to the cinema today and I watched a film that is so embarrassing and so awful that I honestly think that any moment in your life will just be completely washed away from watching this film. And that movie I went and saw was Flight Risk. Now, I am going to be honest, going into Flight Risk, I wasn't exactly overly optimistic about this film. I mean, it's the start of the new year. When you typically start the new year when it comes to a lot of movies, it's going to be very slow and there's not going to really be much good hits to come out. I mean, technically, I watched Nosferatu in the start of the new year, but that was because it was released in the new year in the UK. But technically, it was a movie that was released last year. So, but typically, the start of the year, there's not really going to be much when it comes to movies. I was trying to find a film that I was going to watch, and Flight Risk was being promoted quite a lot. Also, I am a fan of Mark Wahlberg's work, and I do think he is a very good actor. But I don't know how on earth he agreed to this sort of movie, and I really do not know. And certainly for Mel Gibson, who's actually got a good track record when it comes to movies, even as a director, I don't know what the idea and inspiration was for this movie. Like, I don't know who the audience is for this film, and certainly I don't really know what this movie tried to accomplish even watching it, because sitting through this movie was painfully hard to watch. So let's talk about this film a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is the story. I think the story is probably the worst aspect of this movie. So there's really no scene that the story really sets itself upon. So really the whole film, you're really only just centered on three characters. The first character is Winston, who is basically someone that's hiding out in Alaska. I think he's got like government ties or whatever. Essentially, he's essentially someone that is basically needs to be transported for information. You also have a U.S. Marshal named Madeline, and she tries to arrest him, and she needs to bring him back to New York to get some information out for him to testify. So she marshals a plane. When they get onto the plane, they're taken by a pilot called Daryl, but he's actually not the actual person that is Daryl. It's a different sort of individual posing as him, and essentially he's a psycho, and he basically causes tensions and things go wrong in the plane, and it just embrawls into various situations. So the whole story doesn't really set itself up very well. It's a very lazy attempt to really try and make sense of any of the characters and their motivations, and it doesn't really do that well. Also, this movie really makes no attempt to actually make any moments worthy of happening for any reason. Like any tensions that brawl itself out or breaks out, any fight scenes that break out, whoever controls the plane, whatever scenes that breaks out to. Like, who controls the plane, like it crashes into an iceberg or tries to land, or it nearly tries to, it goes through turbulence or anything like that. Nothing ever excites you or makes you thrilled, you know, it makes you jump out of your seat. I mean, to be fair, it's very rare you'll see people jumping seat in cinema, but the point is you're never getting excited for any moments in this film. It's all very sterile, it's very asinine, and it's just really, you just feel numb to it all. Also, it doesn't land itself well with such a bad storyline and just, you know, poor character development as well. But really, there's a lot more negatives to that. The script is horrible and the writing is also horrible. Like, some dialogue, they try and use, like, you know, cheesy sort of, you know, cartoonish type of dialogue. Like, especially when Mark Wahlberg plays Daryl, the pilot, will do scenes like his catchphrase, "Y'all need a pilot," like tries to kind of think that I'm the only pilot on the plane, but I'm also gonna kill you. Like, just makes like stupid things, like stupid lines like that for the sake of it. Like, I know people would argue it could be like a fun, bad sort of character development, but you're never looking at it from a fun perspective, especially when you watch like the whole duration of this movie just drown your emotions out completely, because you're not just like connected with any of the actors' personalities at all, who are trying to somehow salvage this movie in some way. Now, I know throughout my video I've been very overly negative about Flight Risk, so you might be thinking, do I have like any positives when it comes to this movie? And I'm going to be honest, the answer to that is no. I really couldn't find any positives. Like, there's so many things I could just pinpoint this movie and criticize for, from its story, its script, its writing, its dialogue. It's just, and even its moments as well. It's just everything. It's just such a painfully boring movie to sit through. And even for an hour and a half, you feel like you're just doing your whole shift at work watching this movie. It feels like an 8-hour film. But anyways, I know there's also like some people are trying to kind of put some perspective to this film, such as this movie does have a $25 million budget attached to it. So people kind of argue, you know, for the quality of the movie you're expecting for the budget, this is what you get. And I don't really think that's a good reason for that. Like, I've seen many movies, like even very low budget movies, that you can actually make a good quality movie work from it. If you have the idea, the story, and also the acting to make it work and make it all come together. You can make something work. So I don't agree just because this was a $25 million budget, it was kind of intended to be bad based on that. So I won't accept that as an excuse. Now, I know some people will try and find ways to kind of make up some points to kind of prove the critics wrong. But I genuinely felt from watching this movie, I couldn't find anything that the critics were wrong about this film. For me, I found this movie very hard to watch. It's very bad. I don't recommend you watch it. My only real reason that you probably want to watch it is if you really find entertainment from watching bad movies, because this is certainly a movie up there that's probably going to be on your list as a bad film. But whether you agree or disagree, that's down to you, I guess. But anyways, that's kind of it for my video. Let me know what you think of Flight Risk, if you have watched it or not. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you want to dislike. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, that's about it. See you later.